So, welcome to Factory Podcast number 6. And I have with me an all-time Cal Poly great, one of my really good friends, I call them brothers from another mother, even though he's a younger brother from another mother. But, our Cal Poly family kind of stretches goes back a ways. And it's Mr. Sean Chambers of Just Believe Sports,
Right.
Alaska Aces, Philippine Basketball Association legend, Highland High School legend,
Yes, sir.
and I don't remember what was you played for the IBA team. What IBA team did you play for? LA
I
what?
played for no, I was at LA. I was with the LA Jaguars, but then I went to Calgary. Played for the Calgary 88s and Calgary Outlaws.
Wow.
Yeah. Good thing. You could have called me your apprentice. Let's be real. Pretty much everything I learned from you. So I'm not bashful about that.
You say that. You say that, but you did so much more than I did. But I'll take
as we know, the way this game works and the way basketball works, it's a lot of times it takes a lot of work ethic and it takes a lot of commitment and desire, but it takes a crazy amount of luck in being in the right place and having the right people behind you. And then I was one of the rare Americans that got with an organization in the Philippines that was pretty much American backed. And the people that I connected with that I played for, Mr. Uitin, to the team owner, who's an American, and Tim Cone, we just instantly clicked as a group, as an organization when I first landed there. And the part I have to be a good kid, I got to do the things I'm supposed to do. But a lot of those things, when you play overseas, it's always it's a lot of luck that comes into play.
Yeah.
But you also have to do your part as well. So
Yeah.
so if I did more to you, it's because I had a little bit of luck on my side as well.
You actually, well, I mean, I had the opportunity to go.
Right.
When you actually had offered me a chance to actually come and go with you.
Yes, sir.
But I'd already started down the path with FPL, and I'd had my one knee surgery, so I was like, my head was not in the same place it was like 2 years ago, 2 years before that. When
I asked you to come, it was literally after being over there for 3 or 4 years and seeing the talent and the caliber of players that was over there. To that point, I still hadn't seen an American import over there that had the complete package that you had as a player. So I felt you could have been dominating the Philippines. It was right up your alley. So all the things we did in the Cuesta gyms back in the day and the working out 24/7, it was like those things we were doing against one another, and your skill level the skill level that you possess would have been absolutely phenomenal in the Philippines. They would have ate you out.
Yep, probably. I would have that would have been something. Like I said, I had that one year when I was playing in the actually we were playing City League of all things. And I was like, I don't know, I think I was probably 26, and I was probably in the prime of my prime shape. And I was ready. I was actually going to I had another NBA tryout lined up.
Right.
And I was out playing with some guys I shouldn't have been playing with. And, guy jumps up in the air, rolls, loses his balance and falls and rolls into my leg and tears my MCL.
Yeah.
So then, I decided it was time to use that education that poly education. So
yes, sir.
That's what I did. So I'm gonna show you a picture, and I want you to give me some of your give me some feedback on it.
What you got there?
Can you see that?
No, I don't see anything yet right now. What do you
All
got?
right, hold on.
Okay, let's see about the. Oh wow, okay. That's my older sister actually, and I'm gonna guess. I think that's when we probably first moved to Sacramento. But you know, a lot of people know my older sister was kind of like my rock. She was one of my biggest supporters. She would come to San Luis Obispo and come to a lot of games and watch me play when I was started off at Cuesta and at Cal Poly. She's now kind of an entrepreneur living in Atlanta, Georgia, doing a lot of great things out there.
So if you were to go back and talk to that young man right there, what would you tell him?
Man,
Everything that
that's
you know, what would you tell him?
that is deep. I would say honestly, truly value value education to the utmost. Um, Play your game, play your sports, but educational wise, what I'm learning now at my middle age and learning in my adult learning is that a lot of the kids that we went to school with at Cal Poly, academically, projecting the future where they want to be later in life and how they want to live as a retirement, they were way more advanced than I was coming out of a lower income neighborhood like North Highlands, should I say. And as a matter of fact, North Highland wasn't really lower income. It was more of a middle class, but the other communities I did live in Oak Park, we were just surviving. And back then in the late 70s and early 80s, certain places weren't pushing the value of a career on Black youth like we are trying to do now. Like I would have liked to by now have my PhD, something like that, where my basketball career was phenomenal and it was always a year-to-year contract. Sometimes it was more than 2 years, but there was always that possibility of an injury. Now that I got older, now I'm a school administrator, I understand like what I've done as a school administrator as almost equal what I've done as a basketball player as far as my financial stability, as far as my family stability, as far as what I'm able to provide for my kids.
Yeah, and that's why, when you came to me and you were, asking me if I wanted to go to the Philippines, I was making pretty good money working for FPL.
Sure.
And, like you said, the money and the lifestyle that I had from working for FPL far exceeded, the short amount of time I worked for, I played basketball in England.
Sure. Yep.
So, and yeah, maybe I could have made it, the second time, but, again, the amount of money that I made, with FPL, and my degree far exceeded my professional basketball career. So,
absolutely.
And that was one of the things, when I actually, stopped playing, my parents actually made the Chandlers promise them that they would help me get my degree.
Awesome. Yeah. Great people. Yes.
So that's how I wound up when I got cut by the Lakers. That's how I wound up actually living with them for a year.
Yes.
And they had one rule, actually two rules. I had to take the maximum number of units, and I had to pay my long distance telephone bill. Everything else was
right.
was on the house. So
yes.
I'd have my classes in the afternoon and the evenings, ride my bike home up the hill to their house, which I don't know if you remember where they live, but that
absolutely
hill
was, it was a big hill.
yes. That was a serious hill, and it started down from the high school. That's where it started, and it basically went gradually up and up to Skylark Lane. So
right.
she'd have dinner every night, and I'd sit at the table with them, and we would like, eat like it was a family. Like
Yeah.
they were literally my second family.
No, they
So
were great people. Yeah.
yeah, they were. So you grow up in the Highlands, you grow up in Sacramento.
Hmm.
I know you've always talked about how, your your mother raised you, and you as a single parent, and you didn't have any contact with your, with your dad. Did
Hmm.
that was that something that, like, you, from the time that you understood about your dad, you
So,
didn't know about him, or did
so,
you?
so I knew of my dad, but I just never seen much of him. I put a post on social media and it was real. I don't have any memories of my dad in my life as far as involvement of any level. He lived in Sacramento. He lived. It's bizarre because I'm very close. I was very close to his mother, my grandmother. Um, like my mother's mom passed away when we were young, so I don't remember her at all. But his mother, I mean, I'm telling you, we call her Big Mama, and before she passed on, um, I was extremely close to her, and I was always at her house in the summer and the fall and the holidays, and I still spend a tremendous amount of time with my cousins on that side of the family, on his side. But with that said, for whatever reason, whatever he had going on in his life, he was never around. But I was very lucky because I had five amazing uncles that were all had been in the military. They were all very proud Black men. They were very educated Black men. They were entrepreneurs. Some of them were professionals in other jobs, that just would not allow my mother to struggle raising us by herself.
So were they on your
Then
were they your were they on your
that was my
father's
mom's
side or your
side.
mother's side?
That was my mom. That was my mom's side. So on my mom's side, I have five uncles that are two of them are still living, are still with us. That was just, I mean, incredible. Like one of my uncles we speak about all the time. Uncle Albert was one of the first Black colonel in the Air Force, a Black fighter pilot. Lived in Thousand Oaks. He would come down to San Luis Obispo and see me like once a month. You know how valuable that is when you're in college. You're a poor struggling student, and you can have a relative come see you at least once every other month and bring you a meal or bring you a little
Yeah,
20, $30 in your hand, a little change in
bring
your
you a little
hand.
change. Yeah.
A little change. I mean, that's invaluable. I never forget those things with my uncle. But then, like you with the Chandler, it was my high school coach, Coach Montross. I even had my middle school coaches were white men that also took interest in me and made sure I was doing things the right way and kind of was a father figure to me. And then after that was Coach Hansen, you know, at Cuesta College. He brought me from Sacramento to San Luis Obispo. And I mean, that guy picked me up every morning for school. He took me home every day from school, and had me over his house for meals. And, things like that kind of brought my horizon outside of the small community I was growing up in Sacramento. And then there was a Mr. Benson that lived in Paso Robles. I don't know if you remember my old roommate, Too Tall Tom, the 6'7"
Yeah.
guy, he used to have the afro. Yeah, his uncle. Well, we used to live at their house in the summer when I was at Cal Poly and Cuesta. So we would stay there in Paso and stay at there. They had a really big home in Paso Robles, kind of almost like a ranch style house. And yeah, and so those people just kind of broadened my horizon about the world and like, okay, so many things are out there. Although your father is not there was all these other men that took interest and kind of helped show me the do's and don'ts of the world, basically.
So I had like almost the same, not really the same situation, but in some regards the same situation. So my biological father, and my mother split up when I was young, and she wound
Mm-hmm.
up marrying, you know, uh, my stepfather, who until I was like 11, I always thought he was my biological father, right? I mean,
Wow.
there were like
Right.
questions. There were certain questions that were coming up, as I was this really intelligent, smart, gifted child, about
Right.
why, I wasn't the junior of the family, and why my brother and sister look more like my dad and I look like my mother. But she wound up telling me at 11, that this person that I'd always seen, was like my was my father. And so we had this relationship, as I was going into my teenage years. But he did like your uncle. He would actually, like, when I was in college, he would actually call me up, or I'd write him, and he was kind of on the other side of the tracks, as far as life goes. But he never did never not acknowledge me. But I guess to get to the
Right.
point was, we kind of like lost track of each other, and then we were trying to get back together, and he wound up moving to South Florida. We were like
Oh, wow.
living in a homestead, and he was living in Fort Lauderdale, and he had
Wow.
like lung surgery, cancer, because he was a
Mm,
lifelong smoker.
mm,
Anyway, make a long story short, I tried to I told him that we were going to get together because there were questions that I needed to ask him, and
mhm.
there were questions that I asked my mother, about their relationship, how they met, what happened, those
Sure.
things that basically, you want to have answers to, and
Sure.
I'm just wondering if you had those kinds of questions, if you asked those questions of your dad, hey, how'd you and my mother meet? Have you ever
Yeah,
had that?
it's funny because I have not talked to him, Kevin, since my grandmother passed away, which was maybe about 10 years ago, not longer. Man, not probably longer than that, because I don't even know my son was born. So it had to be about 15 years ago. And that's probably the last I've seen of him. And I don't have no ill will towards him. I just don't think he was ever capable to understand what it was like to be a father. But with that, I don't, I mean, I don't feel like I'm angry. I don't feel like I have any ill will towards him, but it just blows my mind when you think about. I think about the accolades of the way I'm perceived in Sacramento, being what happened at Cal Poly in my career, what happened at Quessa, and what happened with my career in the Philippines. It doesn't happen to too many people, and it's just mind blowing to think that this man has never, and I mean never, seen me play one game.
Wow. No, I mean,
One
high school,
one
did
game.
even like that
Not
you
a high
that you know
school.
of, that you know
No,
of, did
no, no. Never seen me play one game. And I mean, Sacramento's a big town, but I'm pretty well recognized and well known in Sacramento because of what we did at Highlands High School as a team. But and then my coaching career has also taken off here. You know, like this year, I was just recognized as the women's coach of the year this year by the Sacramento Bee. You know,
congrats.
thank you. And but has never seen me play, operate one game, and that just blows my mind. But again, I know there's certain times where some people are not capable of handling that kind of a role. Whatever, maybe there's some mental health issues, maybe there's substance abuse. There's
Yeah.
something there with him, but I chose to kind of go on and live my life and never really thought much about reaching out.
So to kind of end that story, we never got a chance to actually to have that conversation because he wound up going back up to New York. He said he was going to come down and come back, and we were going to get together. And like I said, at the time I was working for FPL, and I was doing pretty well. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing I know, I got a call almost in the middle of the night, and it was a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And this doctor, tells me that he's the he's the doctor for. He asked me who I was, and I'm the doctor for Ronald Smith, which is my biological father's name, and that he's in ICU, and that he's been in ICU for like 3 days, hemorrhaging. He's got complications from leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
and you're listed as next of kin. At the time, he was you know his father had died, his mother had died, my grandmother,
Right.
his brother had died. He was estranged from his sister. So I was listed as next of kin.
Got
So
it.
I had to make the decision as to whether to, and he had a do not resuscitate order. So they were
Mm,
calling me to find out if I was going to allow them to pull the plug on him. So
got it.
I never got to ask him the questions that I wanted, and it's something that's always like,
Eh, I'm not sure.
dogged me from the time. And he passed away in like 2001. So,
Got it.
I don't know if that's ever, if he's still alive, or if it's, just something that you would consider, because
Sure.
it's always going to haunt you. And you want to have some kind of, closure or peace about it.
Sure.
It sounds like you've already made peace with it. But
Yeah.
so, so how'd you actually wind up playing basketball? I mean, I
It's
see.
funny, man. You say that because I was thinking about this today randomly. I was like, man, you know what? I was saw somebody had posted pictures of when they started younger and all the way up, and I go, I don't have any pictures of me playing basketball as a young kid because I didn't play. Because in Sacramento, where I grew up at the time, it was all baseball. So
Speaking of
I didn't.
which,
Yeah. What you
speaking
got?
of which,
What you got? It was a trip. I thought about this day. I go, man, I saw something on social media. Like, it was pretty cool. Like, this guy had a picture of him when he first started playing basketball, was a little tight little guy. And then all the way till they got to playing basketball older. Obviously what I would have with my son.
there was, where is that? Where is
Yeah, but anyways, when I grew up all the way to my seventh grade, it was all baseball, baseball, baseball until I moved to North Highlands. And then guys were playing basketball. I'm like, man, this is kind of fun. And I was always hyperactive and had a lot of energy, and it just fit my wheelhouse. So when I first started touching the basketball game and got a chance to run up and down the court and sprint up and down, oh yeah, that's the Old Park Red Sox right there, man. And still today, I'm not kidding you, Kevin. That is still considered one of the best minor league, little league, all-star team of all time, or baseball team, the Oak Park Red Sox. We were in the toughest neighborhood, and that team was monster. And I was a catcher for a guy named Derek Lee, who ended up getting drafted by the Dodgers and stuff. And this guy was throwing almost 90 miles an hour at 13, man. And in the hot 120 degrees heat, I was a catcher for the team. And some of my guys are still around, Ward Johnson and all those guys are still on social media, and Juan Blackwell and Terrell Williams. It was just that team is still today considered one of the greatest baseball teams of that era, like ever in Sacramento. Old Parks Red Sox. You mentioned it to any old dudes, old heads, they'd be like, oh yeah, that team was a monster. And right after this, 2 years later, my mom moved to North Highlands, and then I played one more year of baseball, and then it was basketball after that. All basketball, and of course, high jumping.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back again. So
going back, like, it was all baseball until we moved to North Highlands, and then I think the influence of the Air Force Base community that we moved into, there were more guys that were into basketball. They were basketball. Everything was basketball in North Highlands. That's how I started. But I have no pictures of me playing basketball early. All baseball.
wow. And so, like, were you a natural, or were you like me? I wasn't a natural basketball player. I was like, until as a kid, I was the slowest kid. I was like, this little thin beanpole that I
Right.
really didn't catch up until I was like 16, 17. So I was like one of the last kids that used to get picked. So
you saw that I was kind of thin when I was growing up, but as you know, my whole skill level as basketball was basically my energy and my relentless motor. So back then I probably would have been diagnosed as being hyperactive, ADHD. when I was a kid, how we do kids now. And I was super hyper. So when I started to play basketball, it just fit my wheelhouse. It made me feel great, like to go like nonstop. And I was just able to I didn't have a skill level, but man, I could outrun everybody and I never quit, never stopped when I was a kid. Just run, 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 run. And it just wore people down. You know, people just like, oh my God, just stop already. To the point where they thought I was reckless, you know? Now, reckless energy is very good for basketball.
If you can channel it, yes.
If you can channel it. Reckless energy will just destroy everybody else out there. So I became obviously a coach's favorite. Like I'm the guy flying in the air like a Dennis Rodman. No skill, but get every rebound. Go get the ball. Play defense. Run back. Block a shot. Get the loose ball. Get a rebound. And all my points were putbacks at the time. No jump. As you know, it took me forever to develop a jump shot. You know, it wasn't until later in the middle of my Philippine career where I really had a jump shot. You know, and I was fooling around with you in the gym and you backing up and daring me to shoot the ball. Like you're going to shoot it for you now, but you're not going to keep going to the rim. Right? So, and that was needed for me. Like, you know, imagine if I had a jump shot coming out of Cal Poly.
Yeah. You know, I always think about going into my senior year, and you know, here is we had just come off the Nats playing in the Final Four.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, you know, I'm gonna stay in San Luis Obispo. I'm gonna go work out with. I'd always wanted to. I was gonna go work out with Steve Miller, with the track coach, because I wanted to improve my jumping.
Right.
But I also wanted to improve on my jump shot, on my handling. So I had wheels, Keith Wheeler set up. We were going to play, you know, one-on-one every day. You know, I had Felix out there. We were going to work on my jumper, you know, and I'd pretty much spend a lot of time during the spring working on it and extending out my range. But I wanted to get like to 20 feet where I was like consistent. And you know, next thing I know, I'm getting a call from my mother saying, "Hey, I got a job for you on Wall Street, and you're coming home." What?
Right.
What?
Right.
Yeah, you're coming home for the summer. And I'm like, you know, I got all these plans, and I could have easily probably averaged another 5-6 points a game easily, you know.
Right.
And I come home, and you know, I play a little bit. I didn't play as much as I thought I was going to play, you know, because I was working. But you know, and then I had to come back, and I got out of shape. You know, I don't know if Wheels ever told you that story about me coming back to camp, and I was I left at 200 and I came back at 220.
Oh man! Oh wow! I know that didn't go well with Coach Wheeler. Not at all.
He puts me up on the scale. He goes 220. You remember how he would like?
Oh my God! I know that didn't go well with Wheeler.
So you know what I did. You know what I was doing. I mean, we'd have conditioning in the summertime. You know, and you know how hot it would get.
Sure.
And so we do conditioning. Everybody else would go in the gym, and me and Woody would be out there with extra running.
Oh
and
yeah.
You got 10 220s, right? And so I look at him, and I'd already run 8, right? You know, plus the hundreds.
Right.
You know, I was always kind of like one of the faster guys.
Right.
And so he'd have me out there. He'd make me run. We'd start to run, and I'd run. You got 10 220s, and he'd make me run 6 before he felt sorry for me, and then he'd let me go into the gym. So, and I did that for the whole summer. I had double running.
Double workout.
Until I actually got back down to 200. You know,
I mean, you were too valuable for the team to be out of shape, but I know Wheeler was had big plans for you. No way.
Yeah, well, you were always in good shape. So
yeah, I was a crazy workaholic by myself. I used to get up, fear of failure pushed me. I used to get up sometimes to go run the football field sometimes in the middle of the night. Like, oh my God, I got to be ready, you know. I would go, we used to have the thing at Quest. I don't know if you ever ran that tower. Have you ever ran that? You ever heard of the tower?
I never ran the tower.
Okay.
I ran the P. I've
Okay.
run the P a couple of
So
times, and I've run the
yeah,
canyon.
yeah,
You know,
we did that with Cal Poly. We used to have this thing called the tower at Cuesta. You go across the 101, the Highway 1, and go up the field, and they had this hill went all the way to the top, had some rocks on the top. And so used to be like, it was kind of a battle of will. Can you run that without stopping? And so that became my mark. Every time I would go back overseas, I would go back there and I would go run the tower. Like, where am I at mentally? Where am I at? Like, with far my desire, because that thing was a monster.
it's funny that you say that, because you remember the canyon, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you remember how the canyon had marks. It had that tree, which was like about a half mile in.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was
yeah.
another mark
With the
about
2 mile, yeah,
a
yeah,
mile, and then there was
yeah,
another mark about a mile and a half, and
yeah.
another mark at about 2 miles, right?
Yes, sir.
And I always knew, that I was getting in better shape because I threw up later on down the
You
canyon.
got yeah. The
That's
one
how
used
I
to get
gauged how good a shape I was getting
yeah.
in. And I would
The
push
one used to give
myself.
me yeah, the one used to give me was a swine unit run.
Oh, the swine unit.
Yes.
One day I actually ran that, and I ran it by myself, and
Okay. Woo!
out there up on that hill, coming back,
Man.
down through the ag unit, and
Yep.
I run into a mountain lion
Oh we.
on the side of that hill. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that, like, literally almost, like, just.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
and so I see him before he sees me, and I'm kind of like, I'm upwind from him, so he can't smell me. So I
Right.
stop and I kneel, and kind of like get in the grass and watch him, just kind of like walk. He kind of runs down the hill, and he's a pretty big cat. This isn't no little kitten. This is like a
Right.
full grown, almost like a Great Dane size mountain lion, right? And he's walking down this hill down towards the ag unit. I'm like,
Mm,
and it's the middle of the day,
right.
right? And so I let him get down there right before. And you remember how, when you ran through that, along the side of that hill, the trail was like maybe about that wide,
Absolutely. Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it was
Yep.
nothing but, brown grass up, and it was brown.
Yep.
There's that little like ledge, and then there was brown grass going all the way down into the ag unit. I never forget that day, because I could have kept running, and he could have, like, leapt out of the bushes, and that would have been the end of me, man.
Right. Yeah. No, the swine you do would be a tough one for me, because right when I was trying to practice my breathing, then you get by the swine and the cows, and you get that stench. It was like, oh my God.
So you go to, was Highlands in your neighborhood, or did you?
Yeah. No, Highland, a rural community school, and we were all basically community kids. And one thing about, if you see anything on my social media, when you talk about the Highlands community, man, it was extremely a melting pot, love for one another. Everybody was freaking loyal to the school and loyal to the community. And back then, Sacramento was nowhere near how it's populated now, but it was like the North Highlands community versus South Side community versus the Del Paso community, the Rancho Cordova. So it was these, town schools that were just rival each other. And we were a monster house. We were a powerhouse for football and basketball. We were just a monster program.
So did you start? Were you on,
So we, back then,
as a freshman,
ninth
did you make
grade.
the varsity?
So no, so that's what I'm going to tell you. So no, of course not. So because in the ninth grade back then, we were still at the junior high school. So we didn't start high school until you were a sophomore.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then my sophomore year, I played JV like pretty much everybody. And just one of my teammates ended up going up to varsity as a sophomore. And that was unheard of back then. unheard of. And he went to varsity as a sophomore. He was one of the very few kids that went and played varsity as a sophomore in all of the region, Joe Richardson. And then I went up during the playoff times actually, but I didn't really play. My junior year, I started for the first maybe 4 or 5, 6 games. And then we had a family reunion in LA that we had to go to. And I missed a couple of practices. I don't know, maybe I missed a game, but when I came back, I didn't start anymore. You know, and that was stuff like my mom didn't understand, like my commitment of what I wanted to be about basketball. But then what happened was after my junior year is when things just started to click for me. Like I was at every day. I'm not lying, because every day I would be at the football field and I was running bleachers about 10 times around. And then on this leaper machine that we had at the school, there was a guy named John Jordan that was a couple of years ahead of me. We used to go up there and we would get on the leaper machine. And then I would run the football field. I was running stairs. And then it was because there was a new kid that was supposed to be transferring into our school. And I thought he was going to start on me. And that, again, I always had unlimited amount of energy. I had a relentless amount of energy. Well, that relentless amount of energy, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just doing it. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing it with a purpose like, oh my God, I'm going to jump out the gym. Oh, I'm going to be dunking on people. I was just doing it because I just didn't want to fail. Well, we come back that for Summer League basketball, we actually went to Cuesta for a camp. And that's when St. Joe's was really good. Rigetti, San Luis High School, Morro Bay, Atascadero. They had some really good boys programs back then in San Luis Obispo and legendary coaches. We came down there for a team camp, and I took off literally like a rocket. Like that summer, I literally surpassed all my teammates, all my classmates. I was, again, relentless and reckless amount of energy. Like I felt like I can, like on a break, I could just jump and dunk on anybody. I can fly through everybody. And again, I wasn't a skilled kid, but my energy level, I was going to get every offensive rebound. I was going to get every defensive rebound. I was going to run it, beat everybody. Like I was amazing. What I was able to do in high school was get a rebound, pass it to my guards, beat everybody down the court to get the pass back. And it was just because of what I did in that summer. Like literally, I would say it was at least 5 or 6 days a week. I would, and back then we didn't have to break into the football field because it was open. Now it's all gated. And I would just run and run and run. And then I would walk home. So here's another thing, like, again, by luck and by chance, God had a plan for me. Walking home, it was maybe about a mile home, but walking home, there was a railroad track, train track that went through it. I got this crazy idea. While I'm walking along the railroad tracks, I would hit every plank. Right?
Right.
As I'm hitting every plank, basically what I didn't know what I was doing, what we do today is the ladders. So I was all the way home on every plank. So
you're like you're working on your footwork and your agility from
had no idea. Had no idea. Like, and I go, man, later in life, later on now, when I was telling somebody the story, I go, you look at all the agility ladders and stuff that kids do, we put our kids on. I was just randomly, I was walking home and I just started it was fun to me now. Because what it did was, to be honest, because I was bored walking home, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it fun by hitting all these ladders, all the way down the home.
You see,
look to make sure there was no train coming. So now, as you know, the way I could dunk, I could go like that, jump like instantly, right?
Yep.
I can go 1, 2, 5 from a dot, 1, 2, 5, and that happened off these stairs and then running on the train tracks. It's bonkers, bonkers.
I actually, when I was 13, I was like 5'10", almost 5'9", 5'10", and everybody in my neighborhood that was that tall could dunk a basketball. The older kids. So
sure.
I used to have this guy that lived on the same floor as we did, named Ray. He was a basketball coach, where he coached kids. And he'd seen me play. He says, you got some game. But you're not strong enough yet. You can't handle like the big physical kids. Because my father, in his infinite wisdom, would always like put me with the older kids that were like 3 years older, 4 years older. So I was playing against 18, 19-year-olds, when I
Sure.
was 13, 14. So he said, all right, Ray said, this is what I want you to do every day. We lived on the 8th floor. Says you're going to run from the bottom. You're not going to take the stairs anymore. You're going to run the stairs, right? And on 3 days a week, you're going to start running the stairs like up and down. So until you can do like 8 sets of stairs. And we lived on the 8th floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, thinking, he says, well, what's that going to do for me? He says, well, if you do that, you're going to be able to dunk pretty easy.
Sure. Right.
After a month, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is the other thing that we have like that's kind of common. I was a high jumper in high school too for a freshman.
Yes.
But I wasn't a flopper. I was a Western roller.
You did the roll. That's old school.
Serious old school. So
yeah,
as you know, that's the step, right? That's the step, right? So
yeah,
I'm not having to, go back. That was like one of your favorite moves.
Yes, sir.
There's a picture of you that I remember seeing that you were almost like laying flat.
Yes.
Dunking the basketball.
Yeah.
So because it's so freaking high, right?
Yeah.
You literally almost suplexed over the rim. But
I
always had that good. I had good 2-step, jumping off a 2. But that one, if I could get my step up here, you had no shot because I was going to throw it on it. But that's how I learned. But it wasn't necessarily out of like just something as a sidelight. I wanted to actually learn how to dunk.
So no, I did though. So I wanted to dunk because there was guys older than me that were sophomore that were dunking, and I saw that, and I wanted to be a dunker, no doubt about it. But I didn't realize what I was doing was going to make me jump out the gym. By the time I was a junior, man, I was putting my whole hand over the white square.
Yep.
Wow, I could look at the rim. So it was insane.
Same thing.
But I was never I was never great at 2-foot jumping. Because I was all one leg takeoff explosion. But there 2-foot I can barely dunk over the rim, barely. But 1 foot I can fly.
Yeah, I was pretty good off a 2.
Yeah, you were good off a 2. Yeah.
We used to run that.
And I remember Mark Shelby were phenomenal off a 2. Derek Roberts, who I just talked to recently. Derek Roberts was a 2-foot hopper.
You talked to Derek Roberts?
Derek Roberts called me about 2 weeks ago. Yes. The
crazy
original
Derek
flyer.
Roberts with
crazy
Derek Roberts with the sawed-off shotgun?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Derek Roberts. Cal Poly.
I don't know. Do you ever remember that?
I remember that story. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Comes out with
not LA, brother. This is San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, I'm telling you. We had some crazy guys during that time. Marvin Jackman, right?
I'm not sure I know who that is.
He played football for like 2 years, and then he transferred to Northern Arizona.
Okay.
I'm still in contact with him. Actually, I've been helping him with his weight loss journey. So,
okay.
But him and Jeff Randall L.
Oh yeah,
was another guy from the San Bernardino, and he was another guy with a shotgun. Pulling shotguns out of the jock dorm. So you go on to you work your way up through the system, and you guys are like one of the top dogs in Sacramento. How was that like? was that team a
Yeah, man, we were
team?
phenomenal, man. We had a great coach. Had a bunch of guys like me, super athletic, undersized guys that were just jumping out the gym. But what Coach Montross did, which later helped me in my career again later on in my life at Cal Poly and overseas, is that it's teammate above everything. And we play together, we play for one another, and we play hard. And he had 10 guys that we played hard. And we play for one another, and we put team before I. And so we went 33 and ended up losing the NorCal finals to Bishop O'Dowd, I think it was. Lost by one. We had one loss, 33 straight wins and one loss, and then off out. And then the crazy part was, because we were undersized, at the time, only school that knew about me was like San Francisco State, Sonoma State. At that time, Davis was a Division II, Stanislaus. So a lot of schools I wasn't really interested in, but then there was a lot of schools more interested in me high jumping because, right, my senior year in high school, I jumped 6'10".
Well, it's kind of hard when you're looking at major schools that are looking at a 6'1", 6'2",
Right.
power forward, that guys that likes to play with his back to the basket.
You're right. You're right.
know?
Right. Right.
So,
and it's funny because I am probably the premier 3-point shooting coach in the city for girls basketball, because I refuse to let a girl leave my program without a jump shot now. I'm going to make sure they can shoot the ball, because I don't want to be handicapped like some of us were when we were growing up, because we were just so athletic and you got out of us what you could,
it's a different game now, man. I mean,
sure.
There was no 3-point, line. So,
right.
You basically shot the jump shot to set up your drive.
Exactly.
You shot the jump shot to actually give yourself options to go either to your right or to your left.
Right.
Right now, the 3-pointers, I mean, the kids are coming out of the womb shooting 3-pointers. They're
shooting
actually
threes, baby. Right.
They're
right.
driving, and then getting to the basket and then kicking it back out for the 3.
Kick out. Right.
So
yeah. So that's how I ended up at Cuesta, because we went down there for that camp the summer before. And so by chance, Coach Hansen had called Montross and said, hey, whatever happened to that kid, any of your kids interested in coming out here? So I was supposed to be going down there with 3 of my teammates. They all chickened out. But I knew to my core, I wanted to leave Sacramento, not be pigeonholed and what everybody knew of me in Sacramento. So it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was able to go to Cuesta, kind of reinvent myself, completely being straight back to the basket. But now I can actually face up and penetrate and go and mix it up now. And then, it was an amazing move. And to move to San Luis Obispo from North Highlands was like culture shock, night and day.
Yeah.
From a community of potential hostile situation to a community of the doors are open, you're welcome, come on into my house when nobody's there. God rest his soul. My buddy Mark Gross has just passed away. I stayed at their house for a week, and sometimes I would come to the house when nobody was even there. That was just normal in San Luis Obispo.
Hey,
the doors open.
It's one of the things that attracted me to San Luis Obispo. I mean, I remember I had a lot of offers coming out of coming out of junior college. I mean, I averaged a double, like 23 and 12, 23 and 13, as a matter of fact. I had Georgetown and St. John's and University of Washington. They were all like interested in me, right? Actually, I had
like I said, your skill level was, you have pro level skills. You just need the right break. It just happens like that.
And I decided that I was going to go to Poly because there weren't a lot of distractions, and I was really kind of paranoid that I would get caught up in, like, the distractions and not go to school, and you know so it was like the perfect spot for me, and I figured, hey,
Right.
if anybody was going to see me, my talent would actually allow anybody to see me. So,
Sure.
that's why I decided to go there. Less distractions. They had a good program. I was going to play right away. So that's why I decided to go there. Plus, you come out of Seattle, it's all dreary and rainy. You
Right.
come down to Mott Gym, and there's nothing but girls sitting out
Well,
on the
yeah.
lawn in golfing
Yes, sir.
shorts.
Right. It's a good place to
It's
be,
like,
brother.
yep, and to be an athlete.
It, yeah, it's big enough, but yet small enough too. Yeah, it had the perfect mixture. You couldn't pick a better place to go to school.
Yep, absolutely. And you had to go to school. You couldn't get away with that.
Yeah, you could not get away not going to classes.
So you so you decide to go to Poly, and you're coming off of.
Say just like you, man. Just like you, had a lot of offers out of Quest. I had an amazing career in Quest, and I actually verbally committed to LMU. I don't know if you know this.
To Loyola Marymount?
So I verbally yes, I did. Out of Quest, I even signed the deal, man. And then what happened was that summer, the coach Gregerson, I think it was, I can't remember his name, ended up getting fired and it took them forever to hire Westhead. So I was like, you know what? I'm here. Well, Coach Hanson called me. I mean, Will's called me again. Like, look, the community loves you here. Everybody loves you at Quest. You do great at Cal Poly. You got a great following. You just might as well just stay here. And I'm like, okay, done deal. I remember like, forget it. I'm staying at Cal Poly. I remember when I was in Mustang Village. I was in Mustang Village and I said, never mind. Oh, well, this is what it is. I'm staying here. But I went down to LMU, my visit with Pope and all those crazy guys at LMU that year. It was like, I'm going to LMU. Hank Gather was there. Yeah. And then it took them forever. It took them forever to hire a coach. From March, when season ended, they didn't hire him until like May or June. It was just too much uncertainty, so I couldn't handle it. So I was like, no, I'm just going to stay here. So I signed with Paulie. Boom.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah, I verbally committed to LMU. Yeah, committed.
I did kind of the similar thing. Actually, I was at a school called New York Institute of Technology.
Oh yeah.
I had actually enrolled in classes. I had signed my letter of intent with them. I was on scholarship too. And, one of my summer league coaches actually comes out and he says, hey, I got this guy from Seattle University that's coming down. He's looking for players. I know you're at, New York Institute of Technology, but I think this guy would be a good fit for you. I wound up playing for this guy. He likes the way I play, and, he says, yeah, well, I've got this guy named Clint Richardson that's senior.
Yeah.
And
okay.
We're looking for somebody that basically is going to take his place, when he graduates. He's probably going to go pro. What you're probably as close to him as I like. I mean, I like your game. You guys have similar games, so I'm like, all right, I'm into it. Does it snow up there? No, it doesn't snow, but it rains a lot. So I decide that I'm gonna drop my New York Institute of Technology and go 3,000 miles away from home. Never been away from home before, and go to junior college so that I can go to Seattle University the next year.
Yep.
And they did this almost the same thing. They actually dropped their Division I program for like a year because of code violations, NCAA violations. They dropped it from Division I to Division III.
Yep.
Hired the coach, and I was like,
then you're in limbo.
I'm not going to Division III school. So the funny thing was I never heard from the coach. His name was Jack Shallow until I was playing in the LA Summer Pro League at Loyola Marymount, which
Wow.
you
Oh,
know
yep.
used to be
Exactly.
the
Yep.
only
I played there. Yep.
summer pro league in the country at the time.
Right.
And Jack Shallow is coaching one of the teams, and he asked me if, hey, I'm going to be coaching a CBA team in Wyoming. Do you want to come play for me? I want you to come play for me. And I was so, me being a knucklehead at the time, I was so like pissed at him as leaving me and never like, telling me, hey, I'm going to get fired here, but I want you to, kind of hang out so we could actually
Sure.
like, find a spot for you. I told him no. After after I got cut by the Lakers, I told him no. And who knows, I could have gone and played
Right.
CBA there and then come back to Poly in the
Came up the ladder.
summertime.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. I never knew that about you, that you were going to go to Loyola Marymount.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. True story.
you had already verbally committed to them.
Done. Told everybody no. Like I actually was supposed to go to visit the UNLV that year.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a great sophomore year at Clemson. My sophomore year was great. Kenny Travel was leading the state in scoring like 24 or 5 points a game, and I was right behind him at 23 points a game. But I was shooting like, but again, I played a lot of my points were to the rim and to the basket and back to basket. Sorry. Are you there? I got a call there. Let me walk. My plant manager's trying to let me know she's going. But anyway, so I what am I saying? I end up end up just staying at Cal Poly. It was all good. But yeah, what I was saying, I was playing with my back about the basket, but I was shooting like 68% from the field though, that year. My sophomore year was crazy.
You had that.
I think I think I was the record, like the state of California record for shooting percentage from the field that year.
You had that
great
jab step
Yep.
to the right, pivot,
Yep.
drop step, inside
the
basket.
Yeah.
Pump fake.
Yep. Go get offensive rebounds. Go get the rebounds. Never stop and watch. So again, it was reckless energy nonstop.
Yeah, but you guys had a crew at Poly. You had some players.
Oh man, we were good. No, we had a really good team at Cal Poly. Very good team. Melvin Parker, Chico Rivera, James Wells, Van Winden,
Shelby,
Van Winden, Mark Shelby, Mark Otta. I mean, we were really a good team. We were really a good team.
I actually think I have to take some credit for that because we were so good before. You actually attracted players.
Yeah, you guys were the barter, and so you kind of set a tone for us. And so we were like, Cal Poly's not a bad place to go. And honestly, your crew before with Wheeler's son, was it Keith? You played with Keith.
Yeah. Played with Keith.
You guys were phenomenal. Y'all went to the championship. And then a year after you guys, the team was really good. They didn't have the same success, but they were phenomenal with Nate Hatton, James Blevins, and Derek Roberts. I mean, that team was phenomenal athletes.
We were still
and so when we saw those guys, yeah, go ahead.
We were like, my senior year, we were number one in the nation.
Yeah, you guys were
number one in the nation until we lost. We lost by 2 points to Boise State. Yeah, and then we got dropped. But we were 24 and 6 or 23 and 8. My my senior year, and
Yeah.
had Mike Franklin not gotten into a fight with that guy from Bakersfield, we would have hosted the regional game again and probably gotten a chance to go back to the national championship. We're beating Bakersfield, as you know, at Bakersfield in the regional final.
Right.
And we're beating them by 10, right? And I'm like, I've got like something's going on with my knee. I'm playing and I'm limping through it, but I'm playing. We've got them down by 10 with like, maybe
Right.
8 minutes left. And remember Mike Franklin, right?
Right.
Yeah, Mr. San Quentin. But yeah, he gets
Oh
into
yeah.
a fight.
Oh yeah. Mike and Andy Franklin, the brother from Reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's locked up. Yeah.
He gets into a fight with Lester, I think his name was. Their guard punches him. Right, there's a picture of him with his fist up against Jester's face, right, and he didn't get ejected.
Right.
But that fires up the crowd. It's all Bakersfield, and we wind up losing to them by like 1. We played them 3 times during the year, and the score was 150 to 150.
Right. No, that's how the games were against Bakersfield. People didn't realize that was a great program at the time back then.
Yeah,
and it was such a rivalry between Bakersfield and Cal Poly.
They recruited everybody, but
yeah, they did well.
But
them and Cal State LA were very pretty big time programs back then.
If we would have beat them, we would have hosted the regional game to go to the Final Four again, and we probably would have won.
Wow.
We probably would have won. So we would have gone to the Final Four 2 years in a row. So, but you did more than I did. We were both,
I said, luck has a lot to do with this game.
What's that?
Say that again.
Yeah, I was saying we actually, we were both conference player of the year, but you were two-time All-American. I mean, I was an All-Star, NABC All-Star, but you were like two-time All-American. I don't even think I even sniffed honorable mention, which was kind of weird. But
yeah, and it had to do, again, luck. We ended up being ranked high going into the playoffs that year, so they had to pick somebody from the West Coast region to be on that team, and I was that guy. But we had a great year that year, but they had to pick somebody on the West Coast region. We won our league. Our league was good though. That league was a monster with Riverside, Cal State LA, Northridge, Dominguez, Bakersfield, Chapman, and I'm missing one more. I think I mentioned Riverside.
Pomona.
But it was
Pomona.
It was a powerhouse league. That was a dynamite league, and we were able to kind of run through it that year with one loss that year, but we were really good. And, that game against Cal State LA, the last second shot game was kind of one of those folklore stories, the gym sold out, packed house, and I hit the shot at the buzzer, and so lo and behold, I was freaking All-American, unbelievable.
Yeah. So you wind up finishing your career with them, and you decided you were gonna, I'm sure like me, you thought you were gonna get drafted. Even that's when the draft was like seven rounds.
Yeah, no, that was the year that it changed.
Oh, they changed it that year.
The year is when it went down to 3 or 4 rounds. I think. Let me back up. You might be right. Maybe it was still. Maybe it wasn't. It was like 7. It went down.
It was 7.
Gradually.
It was 7 rounds. They didn't.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm pretty sure they didn't. Like a couple of years later, they dropped it to 2. But I'm pretty sure
3
on your time. Or
so maybe it was still 7. So yeah, You know, it's so funny, but I really didn't think I was going to get drafted. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. And then what happened was these guys from the IBA called me, um, and was like, "Hey, we're going to do this All-Star team that's going to travel and start this league." And so they asked me, can I come out there?" And so I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then there's these agents, but small crazy world, Luke, is this guy, Day, I can't think of it right now, but we're in contact now. This two Jewish guys were trying to be agents, and they were out of Santa Monica. Guys hit me up. They're the ones who want to be my agents. They want to represent me. They want to bring me down to this chance to make this all-star team. I get there, it's about 200 guys down there trying out for this IBA all-star to travel over to Korea, Japan, and the Philippines. I get there like, this is insanity. We do the trial. I don't even know how they're going to evaluate people. It was in Santa Monica. I can't remember what high school was. But I ended up having, of course, I without me knowing, I'm sure now that because of me being a two-time league MVP and the All-American status, they knew me more than I knew that they knew about me, if that makes sense, you know? These guys, like, I would know a kid that's coming in right now that was, oh, that was a kid who made All-League or MVP of the league. So maybe these guys knew that, but I didn't know that going in. So I go out there in this tryouts, and I actually, you know, play like crazy mindless basketball. I'm just all over the place. I mean, I'm hitting threes. You know, I never hit threes before. You know, I'm doing it all. I'm dunking. I'm flying in. I'm definitely showing out and being one of the best players in the camp. And it was ridiculous. Like I said, it was one of those, like, you could pay $100 to come try out. And it was guys everywhere, man. It was nuts. Well, from there, they took 10 kids from 10 guys from LA, 10 kids from the Chicago tryouts, 10 kids from the New York tryouts, 10 kids from the Texas tryout, and then all 40 of us went to Fresno to try to make the final 12-man roster.
Wow.
And again, I'm like, I'm from Cal Poly. I'm not going to make this roster. It ain't happening. I go to the tryouts, and they can't cut me. They can't find a way to cut me. Right? I was like, I'm done. They still can't cut me. Boom, make the team. We're playing in Fresno for first coming out. Lo and behold, Kevin, I found some videos of when we did our first tour with the IB All-Stars. Not only did I make the team, I am like the foundation of the team. So I'm playing the most minutes. I'm playing the coach, Ted Owens, trusted me on that team more than anybody else on that roster.
That's what hustle will do for you, though.
Relentless, reckless energy. Right? Because most guys don't have that.
Hey,
you know, everybody hits a breaking point, and I didn't have mine.
You never reached it. Nobody ever pressed you for it. But you know, that actually served you well in the Philippines, because you were playing like, almost every game. You know how it was. They expected you to play like, from the opening tip to the last bell. And it didn't matter.
Yep.
When I was in England, we played, 65 games, and it was, you're expected to be there all day from the beginning to the end, which I didn't have any problem with.
All 48 minutes.
All 48
All 48 minutes. 48 minutes.
That's what they had.
48 minutes. Yep. No question that. And it had to be, yep. They're paying you between $15,000 to $20,000 a month. You're playing all 48 minutes.
So you wind up going to Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska. So what happened was, when I was with the IBA All-Stars, we went to Korea, and these games were on ESPN. It's pretty cool. I got the videos. I found some. We went to Korea, we went to Japan, and then we went to the Philippines. And then I come back to San Luis Obispo. I'm kind of like really not knowing what I'm going to do. And this is crazy. So I come back, I think I come back in like about September. And I'm actually decided to take a couple of classes while I'm in town, because I still need to finish my degree. And I was kind of in limbo. And my buddy Tom, again, Utah Tom, and Jim, who I owe a lot, a credit to like I owe you for taking their time out and really advancing my game and taking time out of his day just to really just train me and work with me and work with me and work with me. But anyways, Jim gets me a job as a Christmas job with UPS, and he's telling me, "Great career. This is what you need to do. After 20 years, you get retirement." 4 of my teammates at Quester are all UPS veterans. They're all about to retire. 4 of them. He got all 4 of them jobs as well as me at the same time. And I was like, man, is this it? Is this what I'm about to do? I went to one more little tour that we did with the IB All-Stars. I fly back, and that's when the Philippines called me back. Alaska Ace and said, hey, we need a player. We remember you when you were just out here last time. And now let me back up. When I did that tour is when I beat Billy Ray Bates in a slam dunk contest. And that's kind of a legendary story over there because Billy Ray Bates was such a hero, a folklore hero over there. And I beat him in a slam dunk contest, and that kind of blew my name up over there. So I go back, and like not the when we won the tour, it was almost a year later, they call me, and I go back. I wouldn't say a year, let me back up. It was more about 5 months. About 5 months gap, they call me. I fly back over there, and then it was like, boom, game on. And it was just, again, relentless energy, could never hit the wall. And if you know anything about the Filipinos and the Filipino culture, they are hardworking people. They're very committed people. They're very loyal people. But nothing, and I mean nothing more that they appreciate in the world more is just people that are just relentless and hardworking at what they do. I fit that country. Didn't have the greatest skill level still wasn't shooting jump shots. I was coming back home, working out with you. I was still working on that aspect of my game, but the work ethic and the desire, and like you said, I just never hit a wall, was like, they were just like amazed by it, man. It's crazy. Like they were just like, how does he do it? You know, they were just, oh my God, how does he do this? And it was just all I knew, you know, it's just what drove me, you know. And again, like it Dennis Rodman, you know, what drove him.
And you had that, you had that type of body though. You know, you weren't
totally.
like a big, heavy, you know, heavy guy. You know, you kind of like long arms, long legs.
Yep.
You know, so you know, you had almost like the perfect body, but you were still, you know, you had wide shoulders and you were strong. So
right.
So when did you realize that you were that you were actually like the man? That this was like something that you were you could take over?
I knew, Kevin, after my first year there, we ended up taking 3rd place, which was rare for the team that I was playing for, Alaska. But when I was there, Enos Watley, remember Enos Watley?
Yeah.
Played with Portland Trail Blazers. All right, so Enos Watley was there, and the team called San Miguel had just won what they call the Grand Slam championship. So I was there and I witnessed it. And I was like, I knew in my core, I want to do that one day. So I put all my focus when I went back to San Luis Obispo in those gyms with you, when we were back in Cuesta, my whole focus was, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back and win. I'm going to train my butt off and win. So that year was interesting because I went over there like in a February through March. So then there was a gap between April, May, June where there was no American. And then I went back over August. So I had a 3 month gap when I got to work for the next conference. And again, luck. So what happened was, let me even back up more. When I went over in February, they had the conference, it was called the American can be 6'5". They thought I was taller. Okay.
All right.
So when they measured me laying down, no shoes on, I was 6'1", below 6'1" actually, like barely 6'1", I think it was. And my team manager goes crazy. They're screaming, ah! And I'm lying on the floor like, what's the deal, right?
I was 6'3", at least 6'3" at Poly. What happened?
Right. They're screaming. So would come to find out, again, the luck of the draw was I'm taking over for a 6'5" conference. They thought I was taller. And I'm working out and I'm flying all over before my first game. The next conference that starts in September, when I go back in August, is for American 6'3". So that's why I was able to go back again that year. So I doubled up on salary in 1 year. So they got a bonus when I went over for the 6'5". Yes. And so I came back over now for the 6'3". That third conference, I was on fire. And we end up not making it to the final, but I was off. We had a great run. So then the next year, I kind of filled in for a guy. So then the team was we became like a family. So I was filling in for a guy that when I tried to bring you over the next year, we could have 2 American. It was the last time. And so you couldn't go. So then I brought over, oh my God, what's his name right now? Oh, I can't think of my teammate's name, but I brought a guy that I was playing with in Canada. I brought him over and we went to the finals for the first time and we lost it. We were up 2-0 in the finals and we ended up losing 3 games in a row and lost it. So then the following year I come back. Yeah, that was one of the worst pain I've ever felt. The following year I go back and that's when I won my first championship against Wes Matthews. I beat Wes Matthews Senior and then my first championship. And then the worst after that was then after that, you just knew you were starting to fall into legendary status. And then in 94, 95, 96, 97, we won 4 straight. In 98, I won 5 years straight in a row. And then in 96 is when, go ahead.
So when did you realize that you had reached rock star status in the Philippines? I mean, were you in Manila or were you in one of the smaller?
We're all in Manila. Everybody's in Manila. And honestly, man, when you play basketball there, you honestly know you're a rock star. But because everybody, it's a country where the only professional sport is basketball.
Okay.
So everybody wants to be a basketball player. Even the actresses, the movies, the singers, everybody wants basketball. Manny Pacquiao wanted to play basketball. It is a religion over there. So instantly when we win 91, I knew we were big. But when we won 94, we won 95, we won the Grand Slam in 96, then we were probably the most popular people in the whole country. Then I came back and won in 97 and 98 before I retired in 2001. By then it was still today, as you know, I mean, I can go to a Filipino person right now and they'll lose their mind. They realize who I am.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories that you post on Facebook about, you actually going to, to check on kids and, they're finding out they're Filipino and, their parents actually going bonkers over you,
lose their mind.
Autograph.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good story.
Yeah. But anyway, man, but it's awesome. I don't know how much longer we're gonna go, but I gotta close this campus up right now.
All right. Well, I was gonna talk to you about.
But we gotta do a part 2. Let's do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2. I wanted to talk about your family and
that'd
what
be awesome
right now. So let's set up for a part 2.
Okay.
All right.
This has been fun, man. And again, I'm serious, Kevin. I'm not saying this to blow your hair up because you ain't got no more hair right now, I can see. But
it grows, honestly, man. It grows.
The education I got from you.
It grows. It just grows.
The education I got from you in those days in Cuesta Gym, where we would just go kill each other, and I was when I finally was able to start to beat you on some of our best out of 10 games or the best Like we would go like the best, like 5 out of 7 or whatever. We had series we would play. That's when I knew I was legit. That's no lie. I'm like, okay, if I can beat Kevin, like what I figured we used to do series, like right, best 4 out of 7 games or something like that, crazy stuff. And
Here's,
once I realized, okay, I can beat Kevin 4 out of 7 games,
here's,
then I
here's
knew
one,
I was legit. I'm
here's
like,
one
okay,
time.
I
I
can
want
take
to see if you
anybody.
were, I want to see if you remember this, right? We're playing, we're playing not at Cuesta, we're playing at Poly. It was like, I think maybe the first time we played one-on-one, and we were playing full court in Mott Gym. And I'm like, I need to like I need to
Yeah,
set an example with this kid.
yeah.
And I come down, right? And I just keep pushing you, keep penetrating you. And I dunked on you. And your eyes, I looked at your eyes like for that what 1 split second, and you like
Yeah.
oh shit,
Okay.
oh shit, he
Yeah.
dunked on me,
He's a real
right?
deal. Yeah. Yep.
And that one moment, I was like, all right, I got him now. I don't know how long I'm gonna have him because this kid's he's pretty good, but I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this right now. And I'm gonna use it for as long as I can.
Yes, sir. Oh, you were the real deal, man.
Yeah, well, you were like, Paulie has a tradition. I mean, I learned from Mark Robinson, who you
Oh
probably,
yeah, I know
another
the name.
LA cat. So
Yeah.
I had him to go on, and you had me to go on, and it basically it's carried on. Paulie's got a pretty good basketball tradition.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Need to kind of get together and get everybody together on a Zoom call and see see what everybody else is doing. So I
I
think
like
that would
that
be
idea,
kind of
man.
fun.
Yeah. Well, all right, brother, man. I appreciate you. Let's do this like real soon.
All right, we'll
Part
do the
2.